Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Now this time, I've just walked out of watching the third installment in the franchise, Jaws 3. Now, in popular movie culture, I've noticed, especially if you go online, if you go on YouTube and whatnot, and look up reviews and look up what people were thinking of this movie, this tends to be known as, well, not necessarily the worst, but at least the second to worst, or one of the worst sequels of the whole Jaws franchise. And I actually kind of disagree with that. I mean, in a lot of ways, the second movie, because there was a lot of the original people still in it, like they did a better job at, kind of continuing the story on in a more reasonable way. But I don't know, I didn't find this movie to be as bad as modern times hype it up. I mean, there's a few, like a good 3 or 4, like really bad shots, just really bad moments, and just some things about it that just really take you out of the movie for a second. And I think people focus on that a little bit too much, but in story-wise and in concept, it's actually not a bad idea. And, I like how, this movie introduced some other things. Like the other ones, a lot of times, like, it's all about the sea, but it's specifically about the shark, and it's generally about the sea. But there's some interesting parts in this. Like, there's a lot of moments where you see crabs crawling along the bottom of the seafloor, and you could tell, like, the way that they filmed it, it was almost like there was like a saltwater aquarium or something, like somebody who had a saltwater fish tank with crabs in it, and it was all decked out, kind of cool looking, like the seafloor, and somebody and the cameraman was taking shots of the crabs crawling around, which I thought was really cool, actually. There's one scene where two guys they're on their way to the ocean, but they have to cross this like bog kind of first, right? Like it's sort of like a swamp, sort of like a long grass coming out, like it's like a bog. And while they're going through there, but it's right by the sea, so it's like it's kind of like sea life could get mixed into this bog, so when they're crossing it, they come across, there's all crabs, clung to the long grass, and in the shallow water, and there's creepy crawly stuff coming out, and turtles and that swimming around. And I just thought that was creative. Like, I thought that was interesting. Like, a lot of ideas like that hadn't been really adapted into the other Jaws movies. A lot of times it's just solid shark, and if there is anything else, there might be the odd whale or something like that generally. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was that bad of a movie, and the concept was alright. Like, I like how it starts off kind of like just like eerie, like the sharks, like there's this aquarium, and there's all these people that work out there, but there's just like these subtle shots of the shark just out in open water. And there's a really creepy shot where you can see a guy gets killed, but then you can see like the fence slowly like working its way open, and the shark comes into the aquarium. And then at first they think it's just a baby shark, so they're all like stoked, like, oh, we'll be the first one to have a great white shark in our aquarium. So they try and bring it back to life, and then again it dies in front of the whole crowd, and everybody's all disappointed, and they're like, oh no, like, we lost our shark, and it was an embarrassment because our show was screwed up because the shark died and all of that. But then they find out that the adult shark is actually in the aquarium. That was just one of its babies, but the adult shark is actually still in the aquarium, and it just randomly gets spotted by people in the aquarium, right? And again, it was originally made for 3D. It was originally shot in 3D, and some of the moments, again, one of the main criticisms on the film is that when they show a 3D shot, like a shot that's supposed to be, pop right out at you, especially some of the kill scenes. There's a scene of a guy's arm floating. There's a scene of a dead guy's face, and there's a fish's head, also a dead fish's head, and they're all meant to be, like, pop right into the screen. And I think, like for the time, I mean, this is old 3D technology, it's definitely not new, and again, people crap on it, but for the time, I don't think it was actually really all that bad, or that those particular shots are that terrible in execution or in graphics, really. I just think they last too long. That's a criticism I do agree with. They last way too long. It's like, you'll see this guy's arm, and it's like, it's kind of creepy, but then it's like, fuck, like, You know, it's like almost a minute's going by and it's still there. So that is a solid criticism, but the graphics in those scenes aren't quite as bad as some people say. But again, I mean, it's a Jaws sequel. Like, it's not, again, unless you have a deep appreciation for the making of this movie or the making of these movies or something, or your own nostalgia for them, then like I could see if you just walked into this fresh, just like the second one, I could see you being like, oh man, like that's not the first one, like this is shit, like why are we even watching it? Like I could totally understand that, but I am kind of riding on my own nostalgia for these movies and also just an appreciation for the type of filmmaking too. And because you know, a lot of times there are some great movies with the Jaws kind of a theme to them, but a lot of times those movies can tank and go you know, go over the top and jump the shark per se real quick. And these movies did, but they did an all right job of making it somewhat, you know, you walk away with something from watching them, and if anything, you can at least have a good laugh. But I could totally understand why a lot of people wouldn't like them, again, just walking into them fresh, and a lot of the stuff could have been done better, and it's, you know, it really kind of a shame at the end of the day that all the sequels weren't these grand masterpieces like the first one, or it didn't become this epic saga. But, I mean, how could you really create an epic franchise out of a shark, really? I mean, it's kind of far-fetched, to say the least, in general. So it's actually not a bad effort, given the content that was there to work with. So that's what I'll have to say about Jaws 3. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Oh yeah, and for grading, maybe I'll give this one a B. It's again in quality wise, no. That's heavily my own nostalgia. It's heavily my own nostalgia for this, but again, the last one was B- because I felt like the flaws in that one there had to be a minus there. But I think this one, the flaws are actually kind of over exaggerated. They're not as much as people made out to be for this particular Jaws movie. So, you know, and like I said, I watched it a lot as a kid, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but I like the kind of filmmaking and all of that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. Laugh at me if you want, but I'm gonna give it a B. All right. Thank you very much for watching, everybody.